Hey everybody, thanks for watching the video. So this one is about my PlayStation 4 controller. I got some mad drift on that right analog stick. Tell you a little helpful hint. One, these are two little tiny black screws, so that's why I put it on a piece of white paper. But also do yourself a favor and get a piece of tape and stick it there double backed so you can put your little tiny screws on there, because if you drop one of them, if it bounces and you don't see where it goes, it is gone. The other thing I'm noticing too is trying to get these things out. They're Phillips head, but the easiest way to get them out without stripping them is using the 1.8 millimeter flat head to at least get them started, and it takes a little bit to get them cranked out there down in that plastic. You guys can see I finally got the last one out, and just to make sure that you got some tape there so you don't lose anything. Okay, so just to be clear, I had to use the little screwdriver and pry it in here and slide it up toward the left joystick, the left analog stick, and kind of pry it down to actually get this shell to pop apart. So now it's apart. Hopefully I didn't lose anything, but I do see a battery and I do see the cable. Now I know that this cable needs to come off, and please don't touch your motherboard or anything like that with your bare fingers. I think that's a bad thing. I'm gonna try not to, but I'm gonna see how we can get this. We're gonna have to take the battery out as well. Pardon my big hands in here, but I'm pretty sure it just slides out. There we go. So now this is what we got. I see a screw in right there that we're gonna have to take out. Okay guys, I'm not gonna lie. This was probably the toughest screw I've ever tried to take out. And I finally got it started with the universal tool that every guy has in his toolbox, a steak knife. And then I had to finish it off with the micro. It was actually a 1.2 millimeter flathead screwdriver to get it out. Yeah, that's what got it out, with a steak knife. So anyway, we're gonna take this out really carefully, and then we're gonna be really careful not to over tighten it when we put it back in, because if I ever have to do this again, I will probably just throw this thing and get a new controller. So we got that screw out. Now we're gonna see if we can get this without my hands in the way too much, get this out without dropping a bunch of buttons. Let's see here. We got that. Let's see here. Looks like we got something attached here. We do. We have a little plug, which is right here. So we got a little plug. If I can point this out real quick, which is right, and you just heard some buttons fall, but we got a little plug right in this area right here that we're gonna have to get off. Okay, so pro tip for you. It took me a minute to look at this, but in order to get this little tiny ribbon right here out, the first thing you gotta do is get this off, and the screw doesn't merely do that. This thing has a little black latch over here that you just basically have to flip left, and you can get that off. So now you can take that ribbon off. And you're definitely going to need a pair of tweezers or pliers or something, forceps or whatever, but you're going to need that to pull this ribbon out. You want to be real careful with it, obviously. Be real careful with everything, but that's going to allow us to take this off somehow. Let's see here. I'm pretty sure it's just a snap situation. Let me flip it over and see what's what here. Oh, I see. We can just feed this through, hopefully without tearing that ribbon. Let's see. There we go. So yeah, so as you can see, I pulled the touchpad off. I'm sorry I couldn't do that on camera where you could see it, but I was too into it. And it just feeds right out of here. So I'm trying to keep all of our stuff here in order, so we don't go back with and end up with the spare parts at the end. Okay, so here we got our PS4 controller. I'm gonna kind of give you an aerial view of it, an above view. There you go, not aerial, but you get it. So what we wanna clean is underneath the two analog sticks. The right one over here is the one that's giving me the problem, but I got it apart, so we're gonna do both of them. And and this thing just pops off. That was too simple. This one will obviously be more difficult. Maybe or not. There we go. Once again, I'm going to keep those in order so I don't screw them up. But from what I understand, what we need to do is we're going to take this green piece off on each side, and there's a little white connector contact under there that gets gunked up. It's on both sides. Here, you can see it here and here. And we're just going to clean it with a Q-tip and a little rubbing alcohol. Just to kind of illustrate what I had to do here, but I did it already, so you can just kind of see it easier here. I just used it, once again, this 1.2 millimeter flathead, and you stick it in here and you kind of pry this back gently to reveal this white piece right here. And that's, from what I understand, is what gets gunked up on these. And this is your control rod right there that goes left and right and up and down. So we're going to pull these out and we're going to clean them. Actually, I got you a little bit of a better view here now. You can see I've got one pulled out there. Here it is. When I flip it over, you can see the bottom of it. Those are the connectors we're going to clean. Here's another one that's still in that I'll pop out here in a second, and then we'll do the right side as well. Cap full of that rubbing alcohol or that nail polish remover. I'm just going to get this wet, and I'm going to get in here, and I'm just going to clean this thing out a little bit, and we'll see what kind of grime comes up off of this thing. It's a little dirty, but we'll see what the other side looks like as well. I'd also like to point out, if you don't have infantile sized fingers, it's really hard to get this piece back in there lined up, but it has two clips on the bottom or two cutouts that you can line it up to. Just use your flathead screwdriver in the middle and just kind of push it back in there real gently, and you should be good to go. So getting these green tabs right here back in place is a little bit of a pain. You really just got to get in there and squeeze it. I just had to use my bare hands with it. I wouldn't use pliers or anything like that, but you'll hear it snap into place when it's done. I don't know if I can get this for you like that or not, but to hear the snap. There we go. So we got that back on. I'm going to go ahead and do the right side. You don't need to watch that, and then we'll put this thing back together and see if it plays. Okay, so I just want to show you all something. I may have screwed this up completely, but we're going to find out. So this little ribbon area right here, you've got to be very careful with. I put that ribbon back in. I did get it I did slide it in there, but you can see I broke a little piece of that plastic housing. So once again, I could have just done all this for no reason. We'll find out here in a minute. So I just want to make this clear. When you put this piece back on, this little shell piece, there's a screw that's going to go in there that attaches the bottom to the top. Or to the shell. There are literally two guide pins, one here and one here, that this just snaps back into. And then we're going to flip this thing over, hopefully not lose anything. We're going to put, let me get a little position here. Here we go. We're going to put our knobs back on gently. They do slide in pretty easy. There's one. Here's the other. Once again, you definitely want to support the bottom of this while you're doing it. That's for sure. There we go. So now we got all that on. We're going to flip this thing upside down, and we're going to try and put the shell on it. But, oh, I almost forgot. These two bad boys fell out when I was doing it. Those are your select buttons. So I'm going to put those back on here real quick. Okay, so those two little select and option buttons actually do have a little tab on the side or a key, so you can only get them in there one way. You want to make sure that that button or that pin position is toward the bottom of the controller, facing the bottom of the controller. They're going to be a little hard to get in as well, so I got a little trick for that for you. Okay, so I ran into a little problem here. I couldn't figure out how to get my select button and my option button to stay in there long enough. You can see them right there and right there for me to flip this thing upside down. Now, there's a great thing out there. If you buy some, it's called thumb gum. You can put it in there. It's just like a little pasty stuff, and you can just press it right out. It'll never hurt your electronics or anything like that, as long as you don't use a bunch of it. But instead, I just use, again, some more of that wonderful little blue. I don't know if you can see it here. It's painter's tape, it's blue tape. It'll literally not do anything. And if I need to push the select button or whatever, excuse me, my camera fell over there, it'll give me enough give that I don't need to I don't need to worry about it sticking or anything like that, but it should work out fine. Okay, so lesson for everyone. I had to take this back apart real quick because of that button right there. You can't feed this wire through until you have it in the shell. So let's just do that real quick. My dogs are up on my lap here as I try and get this done. So let's see here. This has got to go in like this. There we go. So now you can see you got your pad back on there. And then we are going to feed it through. My hands are kind of big. I hope you can see what's going on here. My hands aren't really that big, but this thing is really super small. So that wire, that pain in the butt orange wire right there, really helps to have these things, I'm telling you. You can hear my dogs in the background. So yeah, I don't know if I just got super lucky or if it's that easy, but I just pushed that thing back in there and my little ribbon came right through. So you can see that there. So yeah, I couldn't do it behind the camera, sorry, but actually you can see it just kind of slides back in there. It kind of clips itself into place. I hope the fact that I broke that little piece of casing right there doesn't end up screwing me in the end, but we're gonna find out shortly. Okay, so now we're gonna put this piece back on. Remember I told you there's a guide pin there and there's a guide pin there, and they just literally go right in those holes. And this is literally just I use the term literally a lot. That is, I think, just a holster for the battery. That's all it does. So I'm gonna take this screw that was so hard to get out and I'm gonna put it back in ever so gingerly so that I don't have to end up ever forcing that thing back out again. I was afraid I was going to strip it. By the way, if you don't have magnetic screwdrivers, it's definitely worth it. The time you don't have, it's not an investment. Don't buy magnetic screwdrivers. Just take your old screwdrivers and rub them on a magnet, and there you go. They're now magnetic. You're welcome. There we go. Okay, I'm just double checking to make sure I don't have spare parts. I got a battery here. I got a shell, I got a battery, and I got 4 screws, and that should be all that I have left. So we're just gonna put that battery back in. Let's see if I can figure this out. I think it went this way. Yeah, once again, remember, just keep supporting the bottom of this thing until you get all the screws put back in. And we're going to plug this dopey thing back in. I wanna make sure I get it the right way. I'm sure the way it's bent, that's the way it's supposed to go. Right, if I keep hold of it. It's not gonna be a good camera angle, sorry, but filming on my own. That's how I do it. iPhone X Max, that's it. Okay, that took a second, but looks like we're all plugged back in there, and getting this shell back on might be a bit of a hassle. I'm not sure, since it was kind of a hassle coming off. I definitely had to pry it a little bit, which I'm not a fan of. Oh, there we go. Holy mackerel. It just snapped down. Okay, again, thank you, Sony. So I'm just going to put these 4 screws back in, and we're going to see if this bad boy works. Okay, so here we are all put back together. There's the tools we use, the ever popular and important steak knife. Here's our PS4 controller. Now we're going to see if it works here. Well, that's a good sound, right? Oh, look, we work. Look, we're spinning left and right. What? I don't have any drift. There we go. Okay, so I do need to tighten a couple buttons. I felt it snapping together, but there we go. Voila.